Hey team, welcome to session 3 of our strength endurance build. So let's just get walking, shall we? So just walk and talk as usual. Normal 10-minute build. I always like to start off with a little bit of a walk. I always kind of recommend you do this in your other runs as well, just a little bit of walking to get you going. That's quite aggressive to shut your front door and run straight away. You want to get some synovial fluid into your joints, a little bit of warmth into your muscles. Makes a little bit of a difference. So in this session, we're going to talk a little bit about post-run recovery and just a few specifics so you kind of understand how important it is. But yeah, as always, I like to put emphasis on why you do stuff, rather than just like, protein, blah, blah, blah. Take my word for it. Try and explain a little bit about why. This session, again, a very good example of strength endurance running. So the main set, the way it's going to work is it will be 3 minutes at half marathon pace, like a 6 out of 10 effort, with a 1 minute lift up to 5k pace. So 3 minutes at 6 out of 10, and then 1 minute at a 8 out of 10 before coming down to kind of zone 2 running, 3 or 4 out of 10. So we're always on the move, which I think characterizes these strength endurance sessions. But it also is kind of a key feature of any kind of racing. You know, you've always got relatively high baseline and then surges, whether there's hills or you need to chase someone or whatever the scenario. So that's kind of what we're up to today. Now though, we're just warming up, so let's get the heart rate up a little bit more, start running, but very much like 2 out of 10 effort, just super chill jogging over the next sort of 8 minutes. So we'll build up to 4 out of 10, up to your kind of zone 2 cruising pace. Then we'll take a little break as we do our dynamic stretches, which will take again 3 to 5 minutes, another 3 minutes of easy running, and then we'll get into that main set that I mentioned. I'll walk you through. Now though, nice and relaxed, bring the shoulders down, chin up, just shake out the hands, lift the knees a little bit. So our session topic is about post-run recovery. I think post-run recovery is always, there's always like an emphasis on that. For me, I feel like with cycling, get away with certain things a little bit more, but particularly a high intensity run session, like being on it with your recovery is always an emphasis on that for me. Okay, it's lifting to like a 2.5 out of 10, just a slight increase in effort, but there's some very obvious commonsensical points which you probably will all have heard before, but I just want to run through them and just give you a little bit on the why. So one, I think people are less knowledgeable about stretching. Yeah, there's all kinds of arguments. Like stretching itself, it may not directly improve the rate of recovery, but it has got some really kind of significant recovery or just maintenance benefits. So the main reason we stretch after a session is to remove tension from muscles, to try and maintain joint mobility. So tension in muscles, okay? We all have felt it, particularly on running. Your calves, your hamstrings might be a bit stiff. Maybe not immediately whilst you're still warm, but maybe 30 minutes after a run, you might stiffen up a little bit. And so stretching after a session whilst you're still warm, reintroducing length to the muscle, removing tension, that's important, because as that tension builds up over time, that starts to impact your joint range, your range of joint movement. So, you know, taking an example, you know, your hamstrings Okay, you get tight hamstrings, inevitably your ability to touch your toes and things like that. You know, cyclists tend to have quite poor hamstring flexibility. That's just like an obvious example of how tension builds up in a muscle and it impacts your ability to do things. In this example, touching your toes or general kind of lower back mobility. And so that's why we're quite anal about stretching after sessions, is it's not about necessarily improving your recovery rate, it's about kind of maintaining your mobility between sessions. Okay, coming up to a 3 out of 10 now. And ultimately, we're trying to maintain consistency, both in terms of kind of keeping your motivation high. So if you're stiff and achy from previous sessions, you're less likely to do the next one. But then of course, looking to prevent injury. So when you're thinking about kind of why am I stretching, just try and remember that it's for a very good reason. It's for ridding tension out the muscle, trying to maintain joint mobility so you can carry on doing what you love. Now, very popular one, protein, which I'm not going to spend too much time on because we talked about ad nauseum. But basically, the reason you want to get a lot of protein on after a particularly high intensity session is because in the half an hour after a session, your muscle protein synthesis levels, so the rate of kind of repairing and rebuilding muscle, is elevated after intense exercise, and you want to take advantage of that. So you want to shovel protein into your system so that you provide your body with the building blocks for repairing and growing that muscle. There's an opportunity to kind of maximize those adaptations. One of those, I think, is quite a well established and well known one. So that is where the protein shakes, or just chocolate milk. You know, always talking about chocolate milk. It might, you know, this. I've seen quite a few posts recently and articles about whether chocolate milk is the perfect recovery aid. And the reasons I won't go into now, it kind of is. In fact, I'll talk about it a little bit in kind of on the down sections of our set. Carbs. Now, protein's an obvious one. People don't always understand why you want to take on more carbs, and in particular why it's okay to take on kind of more sugary carbs after a session. And it's because you want to replenish your glycogen supplies. Your glycogen is the storage form of glucose. It's what you use. You're using it right now for exercise. Okay, last 2 minutes. Let's go up to a 4. So we want to replace those glycogen supplies as quickly as possible, particularly if you're training again same day, or if you're training in the evening. You really want to replenish those supplies if you're then training in the morning. There's also evidence that carbohydrate and protein taken together can help muscle protein synthesis. Next one is rehydration. I think again it's something that's a little bit overlooked. We all know why hydration is important. I talked about blood plasma levels, blah blah blah. I'm not going to get into that. But let's put it this way. Dehydration will impact your recovery rate, because if you're still dehydrated, your core temperature will remain a bit too high, heart rate will then be a bit too high. But I think one element I often think about is it will impact your sleep quality. If you are dehydrated, you will be too warm as you're asleep, and you're still sweating when you're asleep, losing fluids. You will be too warm, and it will impact your sleep quality and therefore how well you recover overnight. And then finally, last 25 seconds, rest. Your body cannot recover if you're constantly on the move. A classic example of how that can impact you is my situation last night, which I'll talk about when we come back after the dynamic stretches. It's a few seconds, then we're going to pause the workout. 2, 1. Okay, let's just pause the workout, and then we're going to go over, just hit some stretches. Okay, so in the same routine that we always do. So starting off with our calf raises with heel taps. Just go up on your toes, bring your heels together, like so. Let's do 10 of these. That's 3 for me. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now walking calf raises, so rolling through the foot, go right up onto your big toe. Right up. Doing about 20 in total. Completely lost track of how many I've done. So 9, 10, obviously you don't have to keep turning around like I am. You're outside. Just keep going. This is these calf ones I find are a really important one for me. Kind of get that big toe activation. Get me rolling through the foot properly. I'm quite bad on, particularly on my right foot. My big toe hyperextends. Just means I don't roll through very well. Standing windmill, so take your legs nice and wide, arms go up to your ears, twist towards one foot, hinge at the hips, scoop across the front, up the other side, back across to the starting point. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, into 10, 8, 9, 10. And just following up on that, the classic leg swings. So forward and back. Make sure you are kicking back as well, so we're loosening off the front hip flexor. 10 of these on each side. 10. Other side. And then across the body as well. Opening up the abductors and adductors. Again. You do some high knees, so remember staying forward on your balls of your feet, on your toes. Doing 20 of these. 12, 20. Opening the gate. So knee up, bring it out to the side. Can roll forward onto your toe as you go up. Nine, 10, and then final one. Arm swings going forwards, backwards, and across the chest. Always really important to loosen off the upper body as well. We tend to break the body up into 2, but quite obviously joined together. And they do very much impact how the other half of the body moves. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to move back over onto the treadmill, or just get ready to run again if you're outside. So just get back into a few minutes of easy running. So don't need to get straight there, but just slowly increasing the effort up to 4 out of 10. So the last point on post-run recovery that I wanted to cover was about rest. Something that I'm quite guilty of at times is it's not sitting still. I just have a type of personality where I struggle to sit still, and I tend to be constantly be on the move. And last night is a really good example. So finished work about 5, went on my bike, did some sprint sets, back for 6, quickly smashed some dinner, and then went to an NCT class until 9. And lo and behold, not feeling super fresh this morning. Yeah, it's just a classic example. There's only not a tremendous amount I can do about it. I just kind of got it wrong yesterday. But it's a great example of, not allowing myself enough rest. That's a really busy evening, and it's no surprise that I'm feeling a bit tired today. But, big enough, fat enough, and old enough. And now, today, got this session, but otherwise, you take it a bit easier. Just sit down more, just chill out a bit more. It's okay to get it wrong, but it's criminal. Get it wrong, and then just try and carry on as usual. So the final point there really about post-run recovery, ensuring you get enough rest, just about sleep. And that's how professional athletes just excel so much further than us amateurs, because they have the opportunity to rest. Their job is to actively cut out other demands on their body. So it just means that they can totally focus on recovering between sessions. So nice set 4 out of 10. Shoulders down, chin is up. And then about 25 seconds, we're just going to lift the effort from a 4 out of 10 to a 6 out of 10 to half marathon pace. So it'll be a strong effort, but not super hard. And then after 3 minutes of that, we'll raise for a minute to 5k pace to an 8 out of 10. So 3 seconds, 2, 1. Just steadily build the effort now. From a 4 out of 10 up through a 5 to a 6. And just take your time, try and relax into it. Remember to drive those knees, lift those knees up. Stay here, nice and chilled. Another 2.5 minutes, that's 6 out of 10. I find half marathon pace is the one that people struggle with the most, because it's just on that cusp between running strong and running hard. And I think people are much easier to gauge marathon pace because they know, right, that's a marathon, I've got to be here for a long time. Whereas I think some people, particularly those that are strong, more experienced athletes, they may only be for a half marathon, an hour and 15, hour and a half. And so starting out strong is very easily confused with starting out hard. So just try and relax a little bit. Should be an effort where, so saying 2 or 4 out of 10 is an effort where your mind is able to drift. 6 out of 10 could be an effort where you're very much focused, but you've got a lot more in the tank. Strong, running with your chest up, running proud, pumping the knees, but you should have a few more gears left in the legs. Because we're going to go up a couple in about 1 minute and 10 seconds time. Just under a minute, then we lift. Now remain relaxed, shoulders down, chin up, relax the hands. 30 seconds, then we lift. Have a little check of your heart rate. Should be well under threshold heart rate. And just sort of, you know, motoring along. Able to think with clarity, but very focused. 5 seconds, then we go up. 2, 1. Okay, up to a 4 out of 10. Building steadily. We're just here for a minute. Pump those knees. For everyone else, try and stay relaxed. .30 seconds, and we drop down to a 3 out of 10. Twenty. 10. 3, 2, 1. Okay, down to a 3 out of 10. Easing down here for 3 minutes. But we're staying, keeping on the move. Well done, guys. So, an element of this session that I want you to be thinking about is how you build into that 5k effort. Quite often when I set this session, I look at the data afterwards. You know, fairly often you'll get someone essentially sprinting. You know, they'll go from a 6 to a 4, or they'll go to a 5 and their knees to a 4. I think one of the things that I want to try and ingrain in you guys is working through the levels, and doing it consciously. Because any time, particularly at 5k pace, any time you spend higher than a 8 out of 10, you know, that is pumping lactate into your system, which you will pay for. So, for those that are kind of doing run races and, you know, half marathons, 5Ks, triathlons, something I really want to ingrain in you is just be conservative with your accelerations, because any kind of real kick will be anaerobic. Now, don't get me wrong, if you are at a level where you are, you know, competitive, looking for the win or podium, you got to do what you got to do. But for the vast majority of us, you know, we're more about kind of controlling our effort so we can finish strong. And a classic example is a hairpin turn. You know, used a lot in triathlon, and quite often the mistake that people make is they'll hit the dead turn and then they'll sprint out. And for that sort of 10 seconds aggressive acceleration, it's almost entirely anaerobic. And then there's like a fade as they have to slow down to flush some of that lactate out. So I've laboured the point. But what I really want you to focus on in this next set coming up in 25 seconds is building into it. Build up to half marathon pace, and then when the time comes, build up to 5k pace. Do it in your head. 5 out of 10. 6 out of 10. Then when time comes, 7 out of 10. 8. Okay, ready to go in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Building steadily. Up through a 4. Up through a 5. Then up through a 6 out of 10. Running strong again. Chin up. Shoulders down. Relaxed hands. Pumping the knees. Well done, 45 down. Few minutes left at 6. Strong. We're not working hard. You'll be able to sustain this effort for a full half marathon. Yeah, halfway through half marathon set. Driving the knees, approaching the last minute. That half marathon pace. Where's your heart rate? Should be well under sub threshold. Sorry, should be under threshold. Wait a second. Then left. Thirty. Twenty. Last 10. Keep it steady. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Left steadily. Okay, so up to a 7. Then building up to an 8. Staying here for another 45 seconds. Driving those knees. Halfway. Twenty. Last 10. All the way through. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Down to 3. Keep moving. And just ease down slowly. Well done. Just relax. Let your breath come back to you. Give yourself time. Keep moving. Watch your heart rate steadily drop. Good stuff, guys. Just got one more round of the lifts to do. And then we've got a little steady section at the end, and we'll be done. So stay strong, stay relaxed, keep your chin up, don't compress your airways. Seconds, and then we got a 2-step lift. Final time. Stay chill. Last 60 seconds. There we lift. So we're at 3 out of 10 still. 45 seconds. Then we're going to steadily build up to a 6. $30. Ten seconds, then we go for the final time. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, building up. First getting up to a 4 out of 10. Then to a 5. And then leveling out at 6. Thirty seconds down, 2.5 to go. Just holding steady, staying calm, staying relaxed. Two to go. Remember, so keep working your way down your body. Lift my chin up, my shoulders down, arms nice and relaxed, hands relaxed, on my knees lifting, pumping along, running strong and proud. Going crazy. Still sub-threshold. Still strong, not running hard. Minute and 20. Then we lift for the final time. One minute left. Half marathon pace. Seconds, then we lift. Ten seconds, get ready for the final lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't kick, build. Up to a 7. Then lifting a little bit more. Do that 8 out of 10. 5k pace. Another 45. And then we'll cruise for the rest of the session. Halfway, 30 seconds to go. $20. $10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Easing down, to the tree again. Easy down. Sitting here, nice and steady. 3 out of 10. Just wait for your breath to come back. We've got this 3 minutes. At 3, we're just going to lift it up. 5 minutes out of 4. Do this along this 8-minute sector. At the end of the session, it's about keeping moving. You've done a bit of hard work, and it's really easy now to bring off the rest of the session. But there's a very important point to it. We want to keep you moving. We want to work you hard, bring you back down to recovery rate, and keep you moving. Keep you patient. That's why it's strength endurance. You know, these sessions aren't mega long, but we still want to maintain an endurance element. A 3 out of 10. Just ticking along. There. Nine seconds. Heart rate should be coming down nicely. Mine quite often doesn't, because I'm talking. It's actually quite hard these days, talking and running. Last minute, then we just get up a tiny bit, see out the session. This is where the strength, the mental strength side of things come. Because if you're like me, you probably would prefer it if the session finished in about 40 seconds. But instead, we're just going to test that motivation. Keep it going. Twenty seconds. Still lifting those knees, remember. Don't drag the feet. 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, just one notch up to a 4 out of 10. The proper zone 2 cruising pace. Stretching out the legs a tiny bit. So, let's just recap quickly over our chat. Post run recovery. Talks about stretching and how we want to rid the muscle tension so that we can maintain joint mobility. It's almost always muscles around a joint that are the problem, that lack flexibility. And I think I didn't say earlier, which is important, is that when you lack mobility in a joint, it means a joint on probably the other side of the body or elsewhere in the body to compensate. So quite an odd one is if you have like a frozen shoulder or you've got really stiff shoulder, when the hip on the opposite side does a lot of compensating, and quite often you can get pain in the hip on the other side, whereas the source of the issue actually originates the shoulder on the other side. That's a classic running one, and which isn't always intuitive. So yeah, we're looking to maintain mobility in those joints so that the body is having to compensate and we're not building up issues over time. Talk about protein and how after a session like this, your muscle protein synthesis levels or rates will be elevated, and you really want to maximize that period. Get protein in quickly, improve your recovery rate. Along with that, you want to get some carbs in, restock those glycogen supplies, particularly if you're training again that day, or if you're training in the evening, and then again in the morning. Talked about rehydration. I'm definitely going to have to rehydrate. It's very sweaty in here today. Surprisingly warm. And that rehydration doesn't just affect your immediate state, it affects your sleep quality, and then indirectly your recovery rate. You got poor sleep, you don't recover as well. And then finally, just general rest. I'll give you my example from last night, where I had no break in play, and then this morning, feeling a bit tired. We're not robots. A lot of you guys have very A-type personalities. You're highly motivated, highly competent, highly driven individuals. And so often, I've never looked at an athlete ever. I've never had an athlete where I thought, oh, they're just lazy. Almost always the opposite. People are too motivated, too driven, and not very good at taking rests. And it's not just about recovery days, it's general kind of breaks in your day that all adds up. This is stress, as we always say. Anyway, last 90 seconds, and then we're going to ease down into a walk, and we'll be done. Stay strong now. Chin up, shoulders down, driving the knees. Finish off at 4 out of 10. Nice and chill. Last minute. Last 45. Last 30 seconds in at 4 out of 10. Twenty. Ten. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Easing into a walk now. Well done, guys. Just 2 or 3 minutes here. Just in previous sessions, if you got the time, just try and walk now until your heart rate is back under 100 beats per minute. Start getting fluids back on board. So we're talking about post-run recovery. Actually, it starts now, really. So always really important to try and have some sort of cool down. If you don't like the phrase, I'd say always like the phrase cool down, because it's kind of attributed less value. I always think a bit of time like this is super important from a mental aspect, mental recovery. So I think so. I talk about last night, my silly scenario which I found myself in. I had no mental recovery. I was going from one thing to the next. Didn't get to recover from my sprint sets mentally. Straight into the shower, straight into walking down some food, and then straight into learning about babies. And so it's not just physical recovery that I'm experiencing. Physical tiredness that I'm experiencing today, it's mental. Finding it hard to concentrate on doing other work. So your recovery, post-run recovery, starts as soon as the sets are over, and it doesn't have to be incredibly anal. It can be kind of fluid. It doesn't have to be a strict routine, but acknowledge the importance of all those elements that we talked about. So have a good stretch after this, get the protein on, rehydrate, get the carbs on, and make sure you got some time in the rest of your day just to relax a little bit. About 30 seconds. And then I'll sign off. But well done, guys. That's session 3 done. Hopefully getting the feel for what these sessions are about these days. Not as intense or as demanding as kind of proper tempo sessions, but that stuff's to come, I promise. 10 seconds. Okay, and there we go. If you need some more time to get that heart rate down, feel free to take it. Otherwise, guys, thanks for your company, and I will see you again next time.